Hi, my name is Reece, and in this video I'm going to be going over the things that you should look for when hiring an effective media buyer for your social media marketing agency. Now, I made a training about this a few months ago. It did quite well. I got a very, very good response from people saying about how helpful it was. So to expand on that video, I wanted to go ahead and shoot this one, which is actually specifically going to go over the things that you should look for when hiring that media buyer. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. If I give you a basic outline of what the entire process looks like, the very first thing that you have to do is post your job post. Post the job post, people will apply, so they will do an application. Then you will shortlist the applications. You'll go through the applications, see which ones you like the most. The ones that you like the most, you will then invite to a one-on-one interview, a live interview on Zoom. From there, you will also come away from that call and then you will have a look through the candidates. You will see which one is the best and then you will hire the one that you felt was the best for the role. During the application stage, which is the stage that comes after the job post, you post the job post, and then the application stage, that's where you have to start looking at the people that have applied. During the application stage, these are the things that we want to look for. Number one, what is their understanding of how the ad platform works in the first place? We don't just want somebody who knows how to write ad copy or create good creatives or do the media buying and define the targeting. We don't just want somebody that can do those things. We want somebody that truly understands the tools from the very bottom to the very top. Exactly how does Facebook work on the inside? We know what it's like on the outside. They get ads, they get creatives, there's targeting. What does the algorithm look like? What is the auction process? What process does your ad go through the moment that you click publish ad? They need to know what the algorithm does, who the algorithm pushes, etc. They need to know everything about the ad platform, the way that it works, the way that Facebook or TikTok or wherever it is, whatever platform, how that platform decides which person see which ad. Because if the marketer doesn't truly know the tools that they're working with, they're never going to be able to get really, really good results. And that's number one, to make sure that they're effective. And I say number one, I don't mean necessarily most important. There's a lot of important things here. But you must make sure that they know how to use the ad platform effectively. Very, very important. You also want to go over and ask them about some difficult problems that they've dealt with in the past and how they overcame them and solved them. It's very, very important that you ask this question because a lot of the time in marketing and advertising, you run into issues. Issues with the pixel, issues with other types of connections, Shopify and the product feed for Facebook isn't working, or, TikTok bans you or gives you a warning or whatever. We run into problems. It's a business, right? But what happens when they run into problems? Do they wait around for you to come and help them? I hosted an interview and the guy was lovely guy. But I asked him this question and he said, well, when we run into an issue, I'll go to my superiors and I'll ask them, hey, what should I do? And the problem with this answer is great. It means that he's going to come to me if there's a big issue and he's going to say, Reece, how do I deal with this? And then maybe together we'll work on it. But when I'm hiring a media buyer, I'm not hiring somebody that's going to come to me for the small problems. Big problems, I understand. Come to me, tell me if there's an account that's disabled, tell me because I need to know that. But if there's a smaller issue that you can deal with it. And if there's an issue that you still need to tell me about that you can deal with it. It's what the role is for. So make sure that they're not going to give you an answer such as they'll go to your superiors, because that just means they're going to go to you every time something small goes wrong. And every time something breaks means that they're going to be messaging you probably a couple times a day if you've got a couple clients. So make sure you ask this question and make sure you get a good response. Make sure it's a type of response that says, I problem solve. You want the type of people that problem solve, especially when you're doing paid advertising or any type of marketing, really. You also want to keep an eye out for how they speak about their past employees, or clients. It's completely fair to say to someone, I didn't really like the job environment that I was working before. I didn't feel like I was getting the compensation that I needed. I didn't feel like I was appreciated for my work. That is a response that makes sense. I mean, we're human. We want to be appreciated for the work that we do. That can't be blamed. But if they come to you and say, oh, yeah, they were horrible, they keep putting the blame on them, they really just talk badly about them. If they just really talk badly about them, it's not the type of trait that we want. It sounds like they're going to be putting a lot of blame on this other person, not taking any themselves. Sounds like they're going to be argumentative potentially, that they're going to cause issues with the team. You don't want that. You want somebody who speaks positively, even if that means being constructive. If somebody comes on and say, absolutely horrible, I hated working with them, they're horrible people, whenever I was working with them, something went wrong, they didn't know anything, they were stupid, if they're talking like that, then cut the interview there, man. Don't even continue with it. Now, you also want to go over the detail in their responses. When they fill out the application, it's going to be written. So you want to make sure that the detail that they give you here is pretty decent. You don't want somebody that's just doing one word or one-liners or saying, I'll answer this on the call. If you can't follow the instruction to fill in the application form effectively now, what tells me you're going to be an effective person when it comes to media buying? Not a lot. So you need to make sure that they're actually giving you extreme detail in their responses. I don't mean an essay. I don't mean paragraphs and paragraphs. I just mean a good amount. You'll be able to see what the average amount is, what's a little bit more and what's a little bit less. And the ones that's much, much less, don't even give them an interview. Because if somebody is not taking the time to give you the detail in their response, probably shows that they don't want the job or they don't want the position as much as somebody that will give you that detail. You also have a little bit of an eye open to their routines and their lifestyle. I don't mean that they can't have fun, they can't party now and again, stuff like that. But what I don't want personally, and you need to find out and figure out what this is for yourself. But what I don't want personally is somebody that's going to go out partying every single weekend. Somebody that's going to go on a vacation every 6 weeks. Somebody that's going to travel 8 times a year. Not going to be good for business. So you want to make sure that their routines and lifestyle make sense for the role, make sense for you, make sense for your business. I'm going to talk a little bit, I'm going to mention a time zone down here. But you want to make sure, if they're traveling, they're not going to be traveling multiple times a year where they can't focus on getting anything done. We need to make sure that they're available. They should be truly passionate about what they're doing. They should be people who love what they do. Would pretty much do it for free. They love the ads manager. They enjoy copywriting. They enjoy the bits that are associated. Those are the type of people that we want to work with. Next stage is doing the interview. This one's a little bit, I'm going to go through this a little quicker because there's some easier questions. Do they have conversational English? If English is the language that you and your client speak, and is the language that they have to write ad copy in, the English needs to be impeccable. It needs to be amazing. You could have great English, but if their English is somewhat okay, then when they write ad copy, you need to go through it every time. You need to edit things. You need to change it. And at the end of the day, if we're hiring someone for a role, we're hiring that person for the role. We're not hiring them to come in, do some stuff, and for us to do the rest. We're hiring them for them to come in and take over and do what they need to do to get the result for your client. So they need to have conversational English. I like fluent English, even as English is a second language. My media buyer is Italian. Second language is English, his first is Italian, but he has very good English, so it's all good. Are they able to articulate their thoughts, their feelings and their thoughts? This has something to do with the language, but less so. It's also mostly to do with just the fact, can they get their thoughts out of their head? If they can't, when they're speaking to you or the client, or if they're recording a Loom video for an update for the client, they're not going to be able to get out the information that's in their head no matter how good it is. They could be amazing with data, and by the way, they don't have to be super extroverted, they just need to be able to communicate their ideas. Be able to communicate, this is why we did this isn't working, so this is what we're going to do, etc. They need to be able to share that. And if they can't articulate the way that they're feeling, their thoughts about their role or what they're doing, they're not going to fit very well into the team because they're not going to be able to communicate with you how they're feeling about their role. And they're not going to be able to communicate with the client the information that the client needs to receive. So you'll be stepping in a lot. Do they appear open and honest? During the interview, you ask them some questions that not really a trick question, but a question that's going to put them on their toes a little bit. Do they open them on? Do they answer it open and honest? Do they open up with you, tell you stories that you need to hear, or do they just kind of keep quiet, a little bit shady? If they are, probably not a good sign. big question. Can you imagine working with them? You're going to speak to this person probably daily, at least on Slack, and you'll probably have 1 to 2 calls a week with them, just one-on-one, and then you'll also have client calls. Can you communicate with this person? Do you like them? Can you imagine actually working with them in the first place? If you can find somebody that has mutual hobbies with you, great. That's great. You know, me and my media buyer will geek out about Marvel or, you know, stuff away from work, not just the advertising, but Marvel, books that we're reading, stoicism, different things like that. It's stuff that we can both relate to, and, you know, you need to be able to imagine actually working with them. Can you imagine working with this person? Do you feel like you would get on? Super important. Are they taking their time to answer the question, or are they just rushing the process? A little bit similar to this bit up here, but this is the detail bit, but this is specifically during the interview. You know, does it look like they just want to talk to you and then just get on with the rest of the day? Does it look like they actually want the role? Does it look like they actually want to be there? They're actually enjoying the conversation? Ties into this, you know, are they enjoying speaking with you? If they're not, probably not a good sign, probably not good. You need to have that synergy, you need to have that connection. Super, super important. Notice at this point I haven't really gone over anything to do with experience. I haven't asked about ad spend or average ROAS or stuff like that. But you do want to ask them what industries they've worked with, and ideally this will be aligned with yours. If you're doing e-com fashion, which is what we do, then ideally I would want a media buyer that's done e-com fashion, especially because it's such a broad topic. But if you're doing something very specific, very niched, maybe consumer tech or specific hypnotherapy clinics or something like that, then you'll have to be a little bit open with it. You know, you can give them a wider chance. You know, if you do e-com, you do a specific e-com, and they just have done another type of e-com, you can probably give them a chance if they're good. If they haven't done hypnotherapy, that's what you do. If that's what you do, and they don't do hypnotherapy, or they've never done that before, but they have done lead gen, and maybe they've done medical lead gen or something, it's close, that's good enough. So if your niche is very, very specific, be a little bit more open. If your niche isn't very specific and it's quite broad, then try and get somebody that's done that specific thing. You want to ask them also what tasks and responsibility do they usually fulfill. The idea here is that we want to get a good understanding of what they think they're going to be doing in the job role. Now, every job role looks different for every agency that they work with, so you want to ask this question and just make sure that you're aligned, make sure that the things that they expect to do, they're going to be able to do, and most importantly, the things that you expect them to do, they will also be able to do. For example, with my media buyer, when I was hiring him, it was for e-com. But I said to him, look, are you able to create landing pages and things like that, just in case we need to? Because that's the type of person I wanted to work with. Somebody that knew skills, a bunch of skills, but was an expert at just a few. And just a few of the important bits, but then also they know about other things. They know about Google Analytics, Google Data Studio, ClickFunnels, Klaviyo, etc. You need to make sure that they know little bits about little bits. Super important. So ask that, make sure that you're on page and you're on the same page with that. Tease this a little bit before, but make sure that they can attend the calls in the required time zone. If you are based in the UK like myself, or you're based somewhere else in Europe and you specifically sign European US clients, then they ideally would be based within the Americas or Europe or maybe Africa, you know, within those time zones. For myself, I would not hire somebody from the very eastern side of the world, you know, Asia, Pacific. I wouldn't hire somebody from Australia, not at this point anyway, because I don't have clients over there. I'm not targeting prospects over there, and I need somebody that's going to be in my time zone so I can take calls with them and so they can take calls with our clients. And in addition to that, you also just want to ask them how they genuinely communicate with their clients, and then set that expectation of what you want them to do. So for me, they know that we're going to have a client call every other week, and the week that we don't have a client call, they're going to have to send them a Loom video at least once in the middle of the week. And then in addition, they'll speak to me at least once or twice a week. I should say speak to you at least once or twice a week. For me, it's twice. But that's the expectation that you want to set. You want to ask them, how do you usually communicate, what they used to? Are they comfortable shooting a Loom video like that, like this, or not? Are they going to be okay with Zoom or not? And those are really the things that you have to look for. Now, when you know what you need to look for, and when you know what type of media buyer you're after, you need to know how to attract this certain type of media buyer. So I'm just going to read this bit out to you, which basically, when hiring my own media buyer, I knew the exact type of person I wanted. I actually did a stage before this, and I wrote down exactly what that vision looked like, exactly who that person was, and I got that person. Granted, having a slight nerdy or geeky side myself did make it a little bit easier, but that's the type of character I was after. I was after somebody who was very logical, very data driven, somebody who tracks their sleep, their food, pretty much every other thing in their life. My media buyer has an Aura ring. He tracks his sleep in excruciating detail, his meditation practices. He has an iPhone, but then he has this other phone that I've never heard of before that has like no apps on it. It's got like 2 apps or something, and like that's the person that I wanted to hire. And I knew that before I even posted the job post. Because only once you know exactly what that ideal person looks like, can you actually create a job post that will appeal to them and attract them to the position in the business. You know, I was able to communicate that this is the type of person I wanted, and so that's the type of person I got. If you communicate, I just want somebody to do my ads, then you're just going to get anyone. You're not going to polarize. You need to polarize. If you want the person that you want, and you need to polarize, you need to say, this is the type of person I want. I don't want this type, I want this type. And you're going to be specific with it. I was specific, and I got the media buyers after. So this concludes the training. I'm going to continuously post content like this because I see that it's valuable to you, to your subscribers, to the people watching this video. If you're not subscribed already, make sure you subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching it on Facebook, leave a comment down below. Let me know on Facebook or YouTube, whatever you're watching at, let me know what you enjoyed about this, and also what kind of content you want to see in the future. If you would like more one-on-one help in scaling your agency, automating your processes and systems, feel free to click the link down below if you're watching on YouTube, or reach out to me on Facebook, and we'll see how we may be able to work together to scale the agency and automate the systems within it. So this concludes the video. I'll see you again in the next one. Take care, and bye-bye.